All right, welcome in, guys. Farzin Vasugian here with you for another episode of the Chief Zone podcast, and we've got some breaking news to get into tonight. Of course, came out hours ago. The state of Kansas making big moves, and they are getting closer and closer to getting the Chiefs to cross the state line. We'll talk about that. When can we expect a final decision on all of this? What is the next step on all of that? And then also talk a little bit about Chiefs football on the field as OTAs, mini camp, all of that stuff officially wrapped up, and the Chiefs have announced their training camp dates. They are less than a month away from starting training camp. A lot of things to get into here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. I appreciate you guys making time to join the podcast live as we've got a lot of things to get into. Hey, this is one of those podcasts where I really need your guys' interaction here. I need to hear from you guys how you're feeling about this, good, bad, positive, negative, because I'm going to be reading a lot of comments throughout tonight's podcast. So please weigh in, give me your thoughts, ask whatever questions you want to ask, respond to anything I'm talking about. Let me know, because this is one of those podcasts where we're definitely going to be doing a lot of interaction with the comments tonight. Want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the place to go for your ticketing needs. You want to catch some Royals baseball? They're doing pretty well right now, currently in playoff position. You want to get tickets for Chiefs football, never too early. You can do so. Go over to SeatGeek.com. And if you're a new SeatGeek customer, use my promo code FARZINE and you will save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com. Enter the promo code FARZINE, and you will get $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. Boy, we got a lot of things to get into here. A lot of things to discuss here regarding the Star Bonds Stadium legislation vote that took place today in the state of Kansas. And boy, I'll tell you right now, the state of Kansas is making moves right now. They are getting closer and closer to getting the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have issued a statement on this. Mayor Quinton Lucas, Kansas City, Missouri Mayor Quinton Lucas, has issued a statement as well. So a lot of reactions to all of this. I just want to quickly pull up Jonathan Shorman's Twitter account here, because there are a couple of stats that I want to get right here before we move on here. Just want to get a couple of the votes. So the way it all worked out today in the state of Kansas, getting the vote underway, they had the debates going. So the House vote, I want to say, was 83 to 21. I want to see if I can pull that up real quickly. Let me. 84 to 38. I apologize. 84 to 38. That is the vote from the House when the majority ruled in favor of the Star Bond Stadium bill. Then it moved on to the Kansas Senate, and it was another blowout vote. This one was, I believe, 23 to 7. For some reason, I can't find it on Jonathan Shorman's Facebook post. Let me quickly see if I can get it. 27 to 8. My apology. Yeah, 27 to 8. That was the vote from the Kansas Senate. So basically, they had a debate talking about this, and one of the Senate members said that, could they be using the state of Kansas as leverage to get what they want elsewhere? And he said perhaps. But this is why we should still be 2 feet in and trying to bring in the Chiefs to the state of Kansas. And, there was another senator who mentioned that, how is it that, and this is actually a great point, you can say this about a lot of things in this country right now, how is it that the state of Kansas is so enthusiastic about wanting to move very quickly on this, a sports team? But on more serious issues, they take a very long time to get going on. Essentially, it's actually a very good question. I'm not. I can't say I'm really shocked by that at all. I mean, those things happen in our country, both at the federal level and at the local government. But that's just the way things work out. But the Kansas legislature, they did pass the Starbond Stadium legislation. Again, the vote was 27-8. So the next step is it essentially goes to Governor Laura Kelly's desk. And Jonathan Shorman, who I believe is from the Kansas City Star, he tweeted that she is expected to either sign it or allow it to become a law. Mayor Quinton Lucas had a very interesting response today. Went on about the some of the regrets in the Kansas-Missouri truce, border war truce, I guess, saying that it's regrettable to not include, because Laura Kelly, she's done interviews in the past saying that in this truce between Missouri and Kansas, there was nothing mentioned about taking Kansas away from Missouri. So I guess legally, Laura Kelly and the state of Kansas are allowed to do whatever they want to steal from Missouri. And Quinton Lucas is basically saying it's regrettable that we never included that in the border war truce. Which, by the way, what is this border war truce? Why was this ever a thing? I mean, look, I've said this many times, and I'll just say it again. I do not get this border war debate or whatever you want to call it. I'll just say it right now because I don't know how else to say it. I think it's honestly fucking stupid. You're on the internet interacting with other Chiefs fans, people who share the exact same NFL fandom as you, and you're arguing over which state is better. Which state has better fans? Oh, who do the Chiefs belong to? I've never understood this debate, and people are like very fiery and passionate about it. I wrote a Facebook post, Facebook and Twitter, asking people, for anyone that's not willing to root for the Chiefs or Royals if they move, why not? Well, like, it's a 20-minute move from Arrowhead to the Legends. Why would that be the deciding factor in you to no longer become a fan? I've never understood this. And of course, you know, this is not the first time it's happened. Somebody on Twitter said, "Oh, I've never seen anyone say this." So essentially what you're telling me, you're accusing me of making up a false narrative, which again, I've been accused of before, not a problem. There are these things out there called screenshots, receipts. And when it comes to these kinds of things, I am undefeated in that category. So of course, gotta, you know, prove that I'm not making up bullshit like some people think I am. And so I put this out there as a response. And one of the screenshots I put out there, I went and got a few screenshots from people saying that they would never root for the Chiefs. One person actually tweeted that the border war runs deep in them. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Seriously, I'm willing to bet that anyone from Missouri that has gone on about never willing to root for the Chiefs ever again has rooted for Sporting KC since they moved. I'm willing to bet anyone that's so passionate in this border war that's so personal and so serious to them, I guarantee you they have ate at Joe's Kansas City Barbecue, which, by the way, there are 3 locations, all of them on the Kansas side. Listen, I've never just understood. I don't even understand people who like want to shame other American countries. It's like, dude, this is the United States of America. You're shaming other cities, other states in the country that you live in. Do people in Canada do this? Do people in third world countries do this kind of thing? I don't get it. Anyway, we're getting way off topic here. But I've never understood this border war fight for the longest time. It's just wild to me. By the way, I see a lot of you guys chatting in here. I'll get to a lot of your comments later. Please let me know your thoughts on everything we're talking about today, because this is a pretty big deal. A lot of people are definitely responding to this online. For those of you who are not in Kansas or Missouri, so if any of you, like Williamson right here says he's from Cali. If any of you guys are from New York, Cali, Florida, maybe you're not from there, but you live there. Maybe you're from the Kansas City area, but you don't live here anymore. How do you guys react to this move? Because I feel like if you're a Chiefs fan in Minnesota, for example, do you care that much, because if you ever make the drive or fly to a game, I guess the distance would be kind of the same to you. Yeah, listen, let me just say this too. Yeah, it is sad because if the Truman Sports Complex was no more, if the Chiefs and Royals left and went elsewhere, yeah, that would be the end of an era. I've said this before. I've kind of thought about this more recently than I have ever before because of this talk about the Chiefs and Royals potentially moving. But yeah, I have a lot of memories with my parents taking my brother and I to Chiefs games, Royals games when we were kids. Me going with friends from college and whatnot for Royals and Chiefs games over the years. Yeah, I mean that location I think is a lot of people have memories from those locations. A lot of people went to AFC Championship games there, World Series games, other postseason memorable moments. Of course, the 13-second game, probably the biggest postseason moment we've had at Arrowhead for sure, when a lot of people thought that game was 100% over. So there are a lot of people who feel a certain way about all of this, but okay, so a lot of you guys agree with me that the border war is stupid. Thank you, because I've never understood for the life of me what is the purpose. Like, what do people gain from this debate? I've never understood it. I get, like, if you're in Kansas City, Missouri, and you live close to the stadium, and then you go from like a short drive to maybe a much longer drive. I mean, yeah, it's 20-25 minutes away, but with traffic and all that, it's going to be a much bigger. You're going to be in your car a little longer. Well, that's natural, but I mean, come on. You're still in the Kansas City area. The mayor of Dallas. I mean, he wants the football team. Which, won't surprise me, because last I checked, Dallas doesn't have an NFL team, at least one that plays like at the professional level. But nonetheless, to me, you have at least another team. If the Chiefs are still playing at a high level, yeah, you're not going to root for anyone else. Of course, you're going to keep rooting for the Chiefs. And by the way, to the point with the Chiefs being as good as they are right now, if for whatever reason this Kansas thing falls apart, doesn't work, very hypothetical situation, because I can tell you, I do have it from a couple of people that are in the know. They're basically saying that the state of Kansas is getting it their way. But let's just say it doesn't happen. Don't you think a lot of cities out there in the United States are going to be calling for the Chiefs, trying to bring them in because of how well they are right now, how good they are right now? Because at the end of the day, if you have a chance to get the best team in the NFL, a team that's a dynasty, then you got a chance to improve a lot of things in your city economically. I don't know if there's an example where a team that's having the success kind of similar to the Chiefs were in a situation where they found themselves needing to move. I know the Pittsburgh Penguins, there was all of that talk. Remember all that talk about them possibly moving to Kansas City, and they don't. They find a deal to stay in Pittsburgh, and then the next year, I think they won the Stanley Cup, and then the year after it was the Red Wings or something like that. It's something along those lines. But I'm talking like on a consistent basis where teams are winning championships over and over again. I don't think we've had a situation like this before. So there are a lot of places out there that would be willing to bring in the Chiefs 100%. Michael says it's really no big deal if they move to Kansas. Still, Kansas City people bitch about the dumbest things. Well, that is true. Royals predicted to win 92 games this year. Air horns for that. Let's see here. Quentin Lucas is a spineless coward. Okay. Boy, we're definitely getting political tonight. I mean, I get it. Politics are involved here, but it's just the way things work out. Chiefs to three-peat no matter where they are located. Well, I mean, listen, they're still going to be in Kansas City, Missouri for at least 6 or 7 more seasons. Melanie says, can you explain the 2019 border war truce Frank White claims we need to stand by? To be honest, I don't really know all of the details from that. But to me, it's like, first of all, I don't know if Frank White's really the greatest source here. Frank White has like a big vendetta. So I do have some, I mean, you guys all know the story about how They passed up on him. They went with Trey Hillman, I think it was, the coach from Japan, and he was pretty pissed off about it. He's actually been to Kauffman Stadium for events, and the Royals like to. So I used to work in the Royals media production department, and they like to show former players on camera whenever they're in the house. And I've heard them say, "Do not put Frank White on the big board." So I don't know. I can't. I mean, Frank White holds a really big vendetta against the city, the teams, and by the way, Pete Mundo put something out there about how Frank White is actually a first base coach for the Kansas City Monarchs and actually misses a lot of days for like legislation votes and such. How can you do both, man? I mean, I get he's got a passion for the game and all and wants to still be involved, but you can't be involved in political office and also be a first base coach and travel with, make the team a priority over your political position. I mean, it just doesn't work out that way. I'm reading a lot of comments here. Kendrick says, seriously, anyone with brains understands this is how things work. Raytown, when these teams leave, will be a war zone. I don't know what Raytown specifically has to do with this. Jason McIntyre said, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Will they put the stadium in Wyandotte? It's going to be in Wyandotte. It's going to be on the east side of 435 and north of I-70. So that's where it will be, kind of adjacent from where the Cerner building is. I thought it was actually going to be like in the same area as the Cerner building, but it said it's going to be adjacent from that. By the way, I mentioned this earlier. So the state of Missouri has lost a lot of professional sports teams over the years. The big notable one more recently was the St. Louis Rams. They go to LA and they win Super Bowl 56. Other losses that the state of Missouri has had, especially on the Kansas City side of the Missouri state line. So they've had the Athletics. They moved on, of course, to Oakland and pretty much on their way to Vegas. They had the Kansas City Scouts, the Kansas City Kings, the Kansas City Wizards, another team that's moved on and went to the Kansas side. So there are a lot of teams in the state of Missouri that have left and a lot of Kansas City sports teams that have left. There's a reason for that. Historically speaking, Missouri is not good at keeping their sports franchises. The only professional sports team that'll be playing out of KC Mo will be the KC Current. That'll be the only team. The professional sports team from Kansas City, Missouri. Now, yes, you have the Missouri Mavericks, but they're an Independence, not KC Mo. By the way, I asked this earlier. If the Chiefs leave and go to Kansas, where are they going to have Super Bowl parades? And by the way, you know it's a privilege when we're talking about potential Super Bowl parades 7 years from now. Someone from the Kansas Senate mentioned Taylor Swift. We could bring Taylor Swift concerts. We're already planning Taylor Swift concerts at this new stadium 7 years from now. But he is right, though. If you do build this new stadium, you have the edge on getting a lot of major events. And I've mentioned this before. Final Fours, Super Bowls, WrestleManias for sporting events, college football championships, or at least big bowl games possibly could come to the heart of America, middle of the country, easy to get to. 3 hours east and west, whichever way you look at it. So it's definitely an advantage to have a dome and be in the middle of the country. So those are some things as well. And then, of course, some big concerts from big-time musicians that draw big crowds, like Taylor Swift, who does concerts consecutive nights wherever she goes. Something that did come to mind today, I think the Big 12 tournament for basketball would still stay at the Sprint Center, and I think it should, or T-Mobile Center, whatever you want to call it now. And I think it should stay that way because what they do for all the pregame pep rallies at PNL and then people walking over to the T-Mobile Center for games, that cannot go away. Never say never, but I do know that the Big 12 really likes the T-Mobile Center. I will say this. The Big 12 championship game, it's going to be hard to take it away from Jerry's World, but maybe there's always the possibility that they could kind of trade places, especially now with all the conference realignment, and you never know. Like Colorado came back. If Nebraska comes back ever, which, big if, but you never know. A lot of people don't think Colorado would be back. Then you kind of have a valid reason to look at Kansas City and say, hey, it is kind of in the center of the core Big 12. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of big teams from Arizona and Florida. I mean, you basically have teams in all 4 time zones in the 48 continental states, but Kansas City could maybe be a team that switches with Jerry's World. I don't think that'll be the case, but you can't ever dismiss that. Those are a lot of opportunities you'll get with this new stadium. And I think, listen, the Chiefs put out a statement here earlier this evening. Let me pull that up real quickly. It's a very short statement. They basically, had some good things to say about the state of Kansas, saying we appreciate the leaders in the state of Kansas proactively reach out to us for input on the proposed STAR bond legislation. We support their efforts to expand the existing program and congratulate them on passing the legislation in special session. Those are some big words there. We look forward to exploring the options this legislation may provide. That is from the Kansas City Chiefs about less than an hour after the vote was announced from the Kansas State Senate. So, listen, I've seen a lot of people. I know Clark Hunt did a press conference during the weekend of the draft, and he even, Clark Hunt went from talking about the emotional attachment he has to Arrowhead several weeks ago, or months ago, I should say. And then the weekend of the draft, he's like, yeah, we may need to consider moving, and we may need to consider a dome. Whoa. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Clark Hunt is now in favor of a dome. Those were not words that he uttered out before the fails vote. And by the way, I mentioned the vote from April 2nd. Can we please stop criticizing Jackson County voters for this? Jackson County voters had a reason to vote no, not because of the 3.8 sales tax. And maybe there are some people that maybe were misinformed, and maybe they weren't misinformed anyway and still said hell no to the 3/8 cent sales tax. But the real valid, legitimate reason to vote against what the Royals and the Chiefs were proposing, both ideas were not very well thought out. There were very few details that were even explained. And I've seen a lot of people say, well, if the Chiefs separated themselves from Missouri, if they weren't tied together with this vote, the Chiefs would have been just fine. I don't really know, man. And I've said this many times. I've looked at the Chiefs' proposed renovations, and they're also underwhelming. What was so great about that? The activity zone I thought was cool. That was the only thing I really liked. Why did they need to renovate the video boards? The video boards are just fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the video boards at all. And then, premium seating behind the end zones. Why do we need that? I mean, I know Allegiant Stadium has that. Is that something that Clark Hunt's trying to copy? I don't know. But I don't even think that is necessary to have for a stadium in Kansas City. Vegas, yeah, I get it. Vegas is completely different. They're over-the-top party type of scene, type of stadium. That's not what Kansas City is about. So I wasn't really in favor of the renovations. And by the way, majority of it was VIP entrances. For who? Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, and their celebrity buds? I don't care about VIP entrances that I'll never use. 90% of us will probably never use. Maybe more than 90%. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. The Royals just basically wanted to tell you where the stadium was going to be, where they're going to plot the stadium, and they just wanted you to vote yes. I mean, the Royals, their plan was a disaster. I don't even know if you could call it such. And Clark Hunt did say that he felt like it was a good idea for the two teams to kind of split and go their own ways, which probably should have been done before, but I still think that they would have. I mean, they would have both been turned down anyway. Ida says, "I'm in Cali. It's a joke." Yeah, Nick's in New Jersey. I will represent the Chiefs until I die. In Canada, we love everyone. Yes. Okay. So a lot of people outside of Kansas City do not give a damn, which is kind of what I figured. Because this discussion has been brought up over the years. Like if the Royals or the Chiefs were to ever move, or maybe go to the Kansas side, would anybody outside of the Kansas City area that is a fan of the Chiefs and Royals, I mean, would this impact them? Aaron says, also do not understand the border war. I get in athletics, KU, but when it just has to do with the states themselves, who cares? See, I agree with this 100%. I probably shed some tears if they moved to another part of the country, but moving 20 minutes down the road across the state line, that's not a big deal. This is what I'm saying, man. Like the Raiders, they moved 9 hours away. As much as we like to poke fun at the Raiders, at least their fan base is still intact. Like, is there a Raiders fan? Seriously, is there a Raiders fan that turned their back on the team because they moved from Oakland to Vegas? I mean, the Chargers, they moved 2 hours away, and their fans, they're still. Oh no, wait, they don't have fans. Never mind. So, I mean, really, the only example you have the Rams. I can understand Rams fans in St. Louis not wanting to care about the team anymore. I mean, you are going 2 time zones away. You're going from the center of the country, Missouri, all the way out west. That is a huge change. I mean, listen, I wouldn't even fault Raiders fans if they didn't want to root for that team anymore, but they're choosing to continue to stay behind the Raiders, which is great. Rochelle says, I don't know what to think about the possible move, but I can tolerate them moving to the Kansas right next door. I was born in Kansas where we lived in Kansas. I have family there. Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. Robert says I'm in Arizona, originally from Cali, but the Chiefs need to secure the Kansas deal and do what's best for the franchise. I'm a Chiefs fan, Missouri or Kansas. My mom's commenting on here. I think it's easier, or at least it's different for people who are Chiefs fans but don't live in Kansas. Yeah, probably. That's what I was saying earlier. I'm skimming through some other ones. Yeah, Jason mentions potentially BCS bowl games, late round World Cup matches. Yeah, possibly. We've had a couple of those in the past. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely get like some, like not World Cup games because the World Cup might not be here again in our lifetimes. Maybe, I mean, maybe not for a very long time. But you could still get some U.S. Soccer games, men's and women's, at the new Arrowhead or whatever the stadium is going to be called. Mark says it's not even that; it's the fact that that's the heart of KC. Yeah, I get it. But let me say this too, because I haven't even mentioned this. I've mentioned this in the past, but not on tonight's podcast. It is time for the Chiefs to get a new stadium. If you go around that new stadium, you see a lot of it's just old. I mean, if you guys have been to SoFi or if you guys have been to Allegiant Stadium, I mean, it's state of the art. I mean, it's a nice stadium for sure. And with the Chiefs, they visit the Chargers and the Raiders twice a year. They spent a whole week using the Raiders practice facility and then using their locker room for game day. So they've gotten very familiar with some new stadiums in years past. Obviously, they went and visited the Minnesota Vikings this past year. They did visit the Dallas Cowboys a couple of years ago. I think they were there also for a preseason game a year or so ago. So they've had an opportunity to see some of these newer stadiums and obviously an opportunity to kind of learn from those stadiums and see what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and what ideas you can take and implement it into your own new stadium, possibly. By the way, I mentioned the practice facility for the Raiders. So I heard this on 810. Soren Petro was mentioning this. So the Chiefs, their stadium, if they move to Kansas, would be in the Legends area, east of 435, north of I-70. But the practice facility would be in Johnson County. So either in Overland Park, Olathe, or Lenexa. Why? Why does the practice facility need to be 20, 30 minutes away from the Legends area? Again, it kind of depends where in Johnson County. That's why I said 20 or 30 minutes. But it's so convenient having those things. That's the one criticism I have about the Raiders is that their practice facility, I believe, is in Henderson. Now, I get it. It's Vegas. Having a practice facility on the strip next to the stadium is not ideal in that city, but this is not Vegas. I think it's nice that the Chiefs, and I know people from the Chiefs who've told me that having, then I'm not talking about players, I'm talking about behind the scenes people, employees for the franchise, people who actually like having the stadium and the practice facility, the offices essentially right next to Arrowhead. So that's kind of odd to me that the practice facility would be in a completely different county. I don't know. That one's a little weird to me. I still remember everything was at Arrowhead. I mean, the practice fields, yeah, same location as it is now, but there was no building. I mean, it was just you had the 3 fields that are outdoors, and then you had the indoor practice field. That office down there didn't exist until 08, 07, 09, somewhere around there. I don't remember the exact date. I want to say 09. I think 09 was the first time, because I've been around there before. And I think that might have been the first offseason that was made available. I can't recall exactly, but everything, all of the employees, everybody worked inside the stadium at one point. And the Chiefs, the players would all get in their cars and drive from the Arrowhead Stadium locker room to the practice facility. So times have changed over the years for sure. Doesn't the new stadium have a retractable roof? I've seen renderings, but I've not seen it. Well, by the way, the rendering is nothing official. It was just an idea that was just put out there. So we're far from having an official rendering of any sort. But yeah, the state of Kansas did put something out there. I don't think it was meant to be retractable. I think it would be nice because, let's be honest, one big tradition you would lose if you go to a dome, you would lose that flyover. Now, if you can do something where it's a see-through roof, okay, I guess you would still get the flyover, but maybe you won't be able to hear it the same way. Because that's a huge. Listen, I've never missed a Chiefs game. I've never missed a flyover for a Chiefs game I've attended. Every single time I go to a Chiefs game, I always make a point to be there for the player intros and the national anthem. Because I've seen people who, come into their seats a little late into the first quarter, and I'm like, I get it. Maybe things happen, but you didn't miss out on the flyover. You missed out on the national anthem. That is part of the Chiefs experience when you go to a game at Arrowhead. You want them to stay in Casey Mo? Fair enough. I mean, we're allowed to think that, of course. I mean, listen, they're still going to be the same team, still going to be run by the same people. Nick says, I don't give a shit where they are as long as they keep winning. It's kind of that's how I am. I just want them to do it right. The Royals had a shabby, ambiguous ballot initiative, and the Chiefs just hitched their wagon to it. That is the main reason it failed, not White's fault. No, not at all. Well, listen, I know a lot of people also blame Casey Tennant on Twitter. Okay, listen, maybe their delivery with their message was not the best, but I don't think Casey Tennant played that big of a role. I think there are a lot of people online that give Casey Tennant way too much credit. I'm not saying you're suggesting that, Tim. I've seen that out there, and I've never had a chance to. I've never really talked about Casey Tennant on this podcast, but they've drawn a lot of reactions. That's for damn sure. Layla says, I don't understand why Jackson County is having a fit over this when they voted no in the first place to keep the Chiefs and Royals over there. They move, Kansas win, in my opinion. I mean, listen, again, if I was a Jackson County voter, I would have voted no also, because I don't like the renovations that the Chiefs put out there. The proposed renovations. I don't like. I can't even say I don't like the Royals, because I don't even know what the Royals' plan was initially. Does anyone know what the Royals' plan was? Because they never were willing to discuss logistically how this whole thing would work with their stadium. I mean, I saw the rendering. They have a roof I'm sorry, a bridge connecting to the T-Mobile Center. I don't know why we need that. I mean, look, it looks beautiful and yeah, it kind of looks futuristic, but why do we need that? Somebody mentioned this to me. One of my friends texted me about this, about how if you do have a bridge over to the T-Mobile Center, again, I don't know why you'd need that. There are going to be a lot of drunk people that would fall over and get into the highway. I mean, you better create some tall walls if you do that. I mean, obviously not going to happen now, but I never really thought of that. And I don't know if it's good. You would fall into the highway anyway, because I guess they're building a park over that highway. I'm not exactly sure that's going to work, but I'm very eager to see that. I remember that was announced, I think last year. I actually worked at Kemper Arena when they had the Kings and Scout. Oh, wow, Rochelle. You definitely saw a lot of things that a lot of people today don't even know about with Kansas City. Hopefully teams can still have a Super Bowl parade anymore. Oh yeah, I mean we still will. Doesn't Brittany Mahomes own part of the current? Yes, she does. Yeah, Big 12 championships maybe. That's a maybe. The tournament, no. Because night one of the tournament, you can't sell out in a stadium. Maybe the Big 12 tournament championship game itself, you could, but it wouldn't make sense to have all the tournament games in one venue and then the championship game elsewhere. That would not make sense at all. And again, I think the venue is so great downtown for the Big 12 tournament, it should never leave that venue ever. A lot of you guys talking about where the parades would be. Yeah, I mean, listen, somebody, I put this out there today on social media. Where would you have a parade? Someone actually sent me a picture of downtown Overland Park. Listen, I love downtown Overland Park. Got some great food there, great places to eat and drink. That is a very small place for a parade. I mean, hopefully you're letting people on rooftops, because if not, you're not going to be able to fit a lot of people. You thought downtown Kansas City was a mess? People are going to avoid all of Metcalf in Overland Park. I really wish Kansas City had an NHL team, man. I would love to see the Golden Knights here at least once a year. I would definitely make that fit around my schedule. Oh yeah, of course, Doug. I mean, that's kind of that's how it works. And I know, listen, we could all talk about, oh, shouldn't owners pay for their own stadiums? Look, the Panthers owner put out renovation ideas out there, and they their estimated total is $800 million, but they want more from their taxpayers than Clark Hunt did from Jackson County taxpayers. So still, a lot of money, but Clark Hunt was willing to put in more than the Panthers owner. That's for sure. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Listen, I know a lot of people will say, well, didn't the Jets and Giants at MetLife host? Yeah, they did. And I think they regret that. 100% they regret that. Listen, we have, I believe, more than a third of NFL stadiums that are now played indoors. We have 30 NFL stadiums, right? 32 teams, but a couple of them do share stadiums. So we have 30 stadiums, and more than a third of the NFL stadiums we have are indoors now. So you kind of you got to get with the times if you're the Chiefs. And listen, Arrowhead's great. I think the grounds crew does a fantastic job, by the way, with that stadium. Even like under bad conditions, and you saw it with the field this past year in that wild card game between the Chiefs and Dolphins. They did a fantastic job getting that field ready, and that's not their first time. They've done it many times over the years. Hopefully, in a stadium, we can make sure we still have that same quality field, because we've seen with the Raiders, that's how garbage their field was on multiple occasions. A lot of people complained about the field for Super Bowl 57. Of course, that's the excuse they all use for the Eagles losing to the Chiefs, but neither here nor there. Yeah, especially for Kansas has never hosted major events before. I mean, maybe you have events like this in like How many? So I've got to be honest. I've never been to Sporting KC game. Every year I tell myself I'm going to go, but I just can't ever get into my schedule. Has I don't know what it's called, Sporting Park. Have they had concerts? And if so, like how many do they do a year? Like there aren't a lot of venues on the Kansas side that you can host major events like the ones we've been talking about. Concerts, events, whatever. People are always mad about something. That's 2024 for you, Charlie. Small town team winning back to back. Now the owners want big time money. Yeah, well, must be nice to be a billionaire, I guess. Because the rumor out there is that the state of Kansas will use the Star Bonds to build and pay for the stadium, and they will hand it over to Clark Hunt. That's the rumor. Full ownership. I wish they could have torn down and rebuild. I actually thought they would go in that direction, but you're not really you're not seeing it. People in St. Louis hate Kroenke and the Rams. I don't blame them. Listen, I've been to St. Louis before, but I've never seen the RCA Dome or whatever it's called. Is RCA maybe the RCA Dome was Indianapolis? I can't remember the old Indianapolis Stadium. But I have seen like videos online and people tailgating there, and they're essentially like stepping on mud for tailgates. It's not ideal. So it was kind of interesting to me, and I guess the Rams saw an opportunity in LA, and they took it. Look, I mean, good on them, I guess, because they won a Super Bowl in their own home stadium. Doesn't get better than that. I love an NBA team in Kansas City. Yeah, NBA, NHL. I'd pick NHL over NBA, but I'd be fine with either one. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people criticize Quinton Lucas for this. Here's my criticism of Quinton Lucas on this. A lot of people mention that he did not even endorse this vote until 3 days before, which I agree was weird. Now, he was out there being kind of proactive, telling people, they're trying to encourage people to vote yes. But here's my criticism of Quinton Lucas, because he did a live stream in mid-March answering questions from viewers. And he was so the Royals claimed that they were talking to businesses at the Crossroads. And there were a lot of businesses at the Crossroads that said, nope, we've never been in any communication with the Royals. So Quinton Lucas was asked about this, and he said he did not know anything about that. Yet for some reason, you endorsed the yes vote. And if you're going to endorse the yes vote, but you do not know anything about businesses at the Crossroads and the lack of communication and the lie from the Royals, why are you even the mayor? Why even put this vote endorsement out there? That makes no sense. And listen, you see a lot of politicians today that get criticized for endorsing something or even voting on something that they don't know anything about. It's like, how do you make sense of that? How do you even justify that? NBA average attendance isn't even filling the T-Mobile Center right now. Well, Jason, they're putting preseason games. So I know before the pandemic, they would do an NBA preseason game, and then they would have a St. Louis Blues preseason game at T-Mobile Center. Since the pandemic, have they gone back to that? Because I feel like it took a while before they started doing that. I haven't paid attention, so I can't say I've noticed. I know a lot of St. Louis Blues fans showed up for that game. Maybe they're here in Kansas City. Maybe some of them traveled from St. Louis. I don't know, but I have seen because I used to work in media production for T-Mobile Center as well back when it was the Sprint Center. But NBA, I mean, yeah, this is not an NBA town, and we have two random teams for a preseason game. I mean, what do you expect for attendance numbers? Matthew says, I'm from the UK, so I support the Chiefs no matter what. Funny enough, Kansas is mentioned more here than Kansas City. See, this is many people in the UK call us the Kansas Chiefs instead. Actually, you know what's really funny about this? When the UFC was in Kansas City last year, there were a bunch of fighters that got on the mic and they're like, "Oh, Kansas, we love you. Kansas, yeah." I'm like, no, you're not in Kansas. And I did kind of joke earlier this year, like, this is probably a very confusing story for people who do not know that the Chiefs are in Missouri. I guarantee you, there are a lot of people in the last like 3 or 4 months that have learned the state that the Chiefs and Royals play in. They thought it was Kansas, and it's no, it's Missouri. Could be Kansas soon, though. Could be Kansas soon. Okay, we're kind of reading these similar comments over and over again, so we're probably Overland Park is crowded on Friday nights with just the people who live there. It's true. As someone who used to live in Overland Park, I can absolutely yeah, you're right, Rochelle. I can back that comment up. Oh, what's up, Mark? Mark's here. Sporting KC hosted an MLS All-Star game and the MLS Championship game. They've hosted a few concerts. Okay, no, I appreciate. I know they've hosted some stuff. I just don't know if it's like on a consistent basis, like every year. Like Arrowhead, they have at least 2 concerts every year. Is that correct? They have at least 2 concerts every summer and fall. Will Kadarius Toney get cut? I like how you use the scissors emoji there. I don't know, man. I don't even know. Like, let's see how he does in the preseason games. If he does not stay healthy, that's his last chance. I mean, it is. Zach Bryan band. Okay, at Sporting Park. Okay. Oh, it's Children's Mercy Park. That's right. I knew they changed the name because of Lance Armstrong and everything that happened there, but yeah. You went to St. Louis Battlehawks game. Nice, but the field sucks. We should resurrect. Oh boy, Scott, what the hell is with your comment here? We should resurrect Michael Jackson and Prince to do a concert at the new stadium. I do not know how to respond to that comment, so I'm just going to move on. Javier says after the one live on Insta before the big game, he might. That's a very good point. Yeah, that whole like, and by the way, wasn't that the same night where his daughter was born, and it was also his birthday? It's like, dude, what are you doing on Instagram Live responding to haters? Because I remember when Kadarius Toney, I was talking to someone about this recently. I remember when Kadarius Toney was first traded to the Chiefs. And so, you know, I go to his Instagram, just kind of check it out, see what he's all about. And I'm seeing him argue in the comments with Giants fans. Like, bro, why do you care what people online have to say about you? And I'm not trying to compare myself to like a professional athlete. But, man, I see so many, like, hate comments towards me. And I'm like, okay, the last thing I'm going to do is spend time going back and forth with you because you're not worth the time and I've got plenty of other things to worry about. It's like, why are you giving these people the attention and the time they look for? Because listen, people who do that kind of shit, they've got not much going for them. That's why they're spending time sending you hate tweets, because they've got nothing better to do themselves. Tim says, when I travel and tell people I'm from Kansas City, they say Kansas. I'm like, no, Missouri. See, I live in Kansas, but when I tell, I always say Kansas City. And if people think I'm from Missouri, I don't really care. Like, yeah, I mean, some people do, but a Resurrection concert would be crazy. Tony looks hella skinny. Does he? I didn't notice that at the ring ceremony. You think our backfield will be solid? I hope so. I mean, it sucks that they're not bringing back Jerick McKinnon. But I trust who they have. I really like Isaiah Pacheco, and I think this is going to be his best season to date because, like the last 2 years, you did not have a true number one receiver on this offense. And that allowed defenses to kind of stack the box more. So now that you have Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice is playing this year, maybe it's going to be limited. Maybe he plays the full season and the suspension comes next year. But this is an offense that a lot of defenses are going to have to respect, and they can no longer stack the box. Well, guess what? You read the defense and see how they come out. All you have to do is make an audible and let Pacheco do his thing, because you've got the best interior offensive line in football, both against the pass and for pass blocking and run blocking. The offensive tackles, still a question mark there, but I think they've got an opportunity. Yeah, Aaron mentions Reese Lightning. By the way, he's at a Taylor Swift concert. I think it's over now, but that's where he was earlier today, or maybe night, wherever it is in Wales. So that's how his day is going. Listen, I'm actually excited to see with him. Dave Toub had a lot of good things to say about Reese Lightning in a press conference a few weeks ago. This is someone that's going to be used on offense and special teams for the Chiefs. And he's actually a candidate for kickoffs. Like, as someone to do the actual kicking on kickoffs, to be clear. It's either going to be him or Justin Reid. They made it very clear they do not want Harrison Butker for kickoffs. And quite honestly, that is the smart thing to do. Even without the new kickoff style, which I think is dumb, I think you should still have Justin Reid do kickoffs anyway, because that's one more actual defender that you have on the field. Because kickers don't do the tackling. When they do, it doesn't look good sometimes. I remember Dustin Colquitt. It's rare, but I remember Dustin Colquitt once. He was like the last line of defense to stop a punt return from going all the way back for a touchdown. This was in 2008. He jumped on the back of the returner and essentially got a piggyback ride for like 10 yards. And I think he hurt himself in the process there. So, let Butker focus on field goals, which is what he was great at. And I've talked about this before with Butker. He is going to be expensive. And I understand, okay, yeah, he's not doing kickoffs, and he's only going to do field goals. I don't think the Chiefs can say, oh, yeah, we took kickoffs away from you. We're going to spend less money. And no, he's going to demand a lot of money. If he has a season very similar to what he had last year, Butker is hitting the bank. And I don't know what the odds are of this happening. You might actually have to use the franchise tag on him, and I think it would be worth it. I still think a guy like Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, I don't know what the odds are of keeping both of them. I would maybe say use a franchise tag on one of those guys first and try to negotiate with Butker before free agency begins next year. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what he does. That's why I think the three-peat is so important, because you're going to lose a lot of guys next offseason for sure. Speaking of the team itself, we spent a lot of time on the state of Kansas and all of that stuff, so we can table that discussion for later, especially for the Red Friday live chat this week. By the way, this Red Friday live chat will be the last Red Friday live chat for at least a month, because listen, this is late June. This is a time of year where there's nothing going on. So we're going to limit the Red Friday live chats for this summer, because there just isn't much to talk about for the time being. Obviously, they'll pick right back up for training camp. So if you're a fan of the Red Friday live chat, no worries. They will be back later in the year. You know what I should start doing? I should start allowing phone calls on the podcast. Real quickly, for those of you watching, because for every post-game podcast we do, I do allow people to call into the live stream. You just basically click the link, set up your video camera or whatever it is on your phone, your laptop, whatever, and we chat it up. Would you guys be in favor if the phone line was open for actual, just normal Wednesday podcasts? I mean, today's not Wednesday, but I'm very curious to see what you guys. Yeah, we've done live calls before, Rochelle, but that's only for post game. That's the only time I do it, because I've been thinking for a while. I'm like, I should open this up for the actual podcast, the midweek podcast. Usually I do it Wednesdays, but today we're doing it on a different day because because of the big news today. Okay, a lot of you guys are saying yes. Okay, and I don't expect every single person to call in every single podcast because obviously there are some weeks that are going to be more. There's going to be more to talk about than other weeks. Okay, so a lot of you guys are in favor of that. Okay, so I won't do it today because we are kind of going long on tonight's podcast, and I'm going to be wrapping up soon. You'd have to be prepared for some interesting calls. Aaron says, "Okay, yeah. Not quite sure what you mean by that." But okay, fair enough. As long as you guys are not like nude or anything, somebody, if you guys did watch the post game live shows, because I can see everybody while they're like in queue waiting. Somebody was actually nude calling in, and I told that person to go pick up some clothes and put that on, and then call back because it's kind of a little weird. Yeah, Melody says it could get a little crazy. Seriously, imagine like calling into a video podcast and being naked. I don't know why you would think that's a good idea. I do kind of question other decisions that person may or may not do, but neither here nor there. Okay, yeah. So usually for podcasts, I do them Wednesdays, Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Just kind of depends on the news cycle, what happens. So starting next week, we will definitely do live podcast. We're going to take a break during the 4th of July week. Just because. But yeah, we'll start doing that from now on. Okay, good to know. I appreciate you guys' response to that. Farzine for president. I mean, listen, I don't know if it could be much worse than the candidates we have for the upcoming one, but I guess I could maybe make it worse. But I appreciate that, Scott. Hopefully, president for like something else, not the country, because I'm definitely not eligible for that. Okay, real quickly on the team right now, training camp. Okay, obviously they're on their own, so no coach supervision, none of that stuff. Everyone's on the run. I mentioned, Reese Lightning. He's back home in Wales. He was at a Taylor Swift concert, in fact. A lot of players right now are doing their charity. Some of the work they do. Travis Kelce right now is running tight end university. Justin Reed doing some charity work of his own. Trent McDuffie doing some charity work. A lot of guys doing their own thing right now, and some of them don't really do charity work. Even that, maybe they do, maybe they don't. For the ones who don't, like maybe Mahomes, he kind of saves that for during the season because he does a lot during the season that he probably spends this next, 20 some odd days, 27, 26 days just with his family. So just to see, just to kind of hang out and do his own thing. But here's what I'm trying to get at here is all the off the field trouble, because I'm sure you guys have heard with Isaiah Buggs, and there are some new details regarding Isaiah Buggs with his domestic violence arrest. Obviously, he had an arrest earlier this year for animal cruelty. Let me just ask you guys a question. Who in the flying fuck is Isaiah Buggs? Okay, I do a podcast on this football team. I have never heard of Isaiah Buggs until the animal cruelty arrest. Okay? And by the way, for anyone that's like, oh, you're not a true fan if you don't know who he is, shut up. No one knew who he was. I guarantee you, the people who actually cover the team, like Teicher, Nate Taylor, whoever, all of those guys, I guarantee you, none of them knew who how many articles were written about Isaiah Buggs before the final week of May? This guy signed with the team before the Super Bowl, a week before the Super Bowl, and he got a ring because he was a part of the team. But he didn't play in it. So this guy, yes, he's a Super Bowl champion. He can call himself that, statistically speaking. But it's like, dude, this guy's not worth the headache. And I understand the Chiefs are very patient on these kinds of things. They always wait for the details just to see what happens. We kind of saw with the Rashee Rice alleged bar incident. The details that kind of came out after that did not tell the same story as the initial one. And by the way, let me just say this because I haven't seen anyone say this. What photographer agrees to go to a nightclub to take pictures on short notice like that? No photographer in this world does that. The photographer suddenly claimed he was lured in. What they do? They told you there was free candy at the bar. Like, how does a photographer get tricked into going to a nightclub to take pictures for an event, or they're convinced they're taking pictures for an event? That didn't make any sense. Now, the Rashee Rice, the car accident situation that happened, that's bad. That is pretty damn bad, and he's going to suffer the consequences for it, as he should. What else happened this offseason? Okay, Wanya Morris and Chuck Godric got in trouble for smoking weed. Okay, it's weed. It is not a big deal at all. I think they should have maybe had better judgment and should have gone to the Missouri side to do it because it's legal there. Listen, Missouri has weed. Kansas could get the Chiefs. I guess that's how it works out right now. That's like not even anything you can seriously. Who is going to judge someone for smoking weed? Okay, should they have done it? No, at least not on the Kansas side. But it's like the most minor thing in the world. Isaiah Buggs, yeah, the things he's done and has been charged for, not really good. Robert says anyone that abuses animals has a special place in hell. Yeah, the details from that were just weird. And their claims afterwards is not a good look. I mean, listen, you're charged and arrested. So I don't know what there is for the Chiefs to wait on. So the only like serious crime that a Chiefs player did this offseason was what? The Rashee Rice car accident. Now, Isaiah Buggs has done some stuff worse than, okay, I don't know if it was worse than that. I mean, listen, assault is pretty bad. Domestic violence is horrible. But again, this is a guy that is like not even going to play. Is Isaiah Buggs going to play on the team? Seriously, think of who you think the 4 starting defensive linemen are going to be and who the 4 backups are going to be. Not one single person on this planet believes Isaiah Buggs is going to be one of the 4 starters or one of the 4 main backups on that defensive line. So this is somebody that's going to be gone soon. I don't know what the holdup is, but it's going to be soon. Yeah, Tim mentions the details. Yeah, dragging his ex down the stairs. Yeah, I know there was another Chiefs player who did that several years ago. Actually, I had them on the podcast. I believe that was Lionel Dalton. He got in trouble for domestic violence. He was dealing with some health issues later on, but he's on the right track now, so that's good for him. And hopefully, he's figured the other part of his life out as things have gone on. Rice's situation is by far the worst right now. Yeah, for sure. Here's the thing I'll say. If he gets suspended for this season, which is going to be 4 or 6 games, maybe 8 games, okay, he gets a suspension. He comes back mid-season, fresh and ready to go, and he's going to give the offense a boost. Now, if he doesn't get suspended this year, and it's going to be next year instead, because Roger Goodell did say that they're going to wait for the trial to take place and all of that, well, guess what? You're going to have 3 very reliable wide receivers to start off the 2024 season. So the way I look at it, man, you could have 3 really good receivers to start off the season. If not, you have 2, plus Travis Kelce and Isaiah Pacheco, so you'll still be okay. And then Rice returns mid-season to give the offense a boost because he's going to be fresh. He's going to be doing just a lot of his own time, training and doing all of that stuff while the team's playing and practicing. So I don't view the off-the-field situation a win-win by all means, but the way that it could all work out on the field, yeah, that could kind of benefit the Chiefs in a weird way. Not the way you want to do it, but that's kind of the way it just works out. Scott says, Farzan, as I told you, we should really be concerned about our youth. I don't disagree. And I don't like the excuse that, when someone young gets in trouble and people bring up their age, I don't like that at all. Why are we excusing someone's behavior because of their age? There are a lot of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds playing college sports at a high level who don't get in trouble consistently. So when 1 or 2 guys get in trouble, he's young. There are a lot of young guys in college. And then when someone in the NFL gets in trouble and they mention their age, it's like, dude, there are a lot of 21, 22, 23-year-old players in the NFL that aren't doing this. So why is this person's age an excuse? I just see the age thing so much, and I'm sorry, I can't buy into that. I was 21, 22, 23 before. Did I do some stupid things in college? Yeah, I did. And in my early 20s, did I get behind a wheel after a few drinks? Hell no. I mean, There is a difference between doing stupid things, making a simple mistake, and then getting behind the wheel when you absolutely shouldn't. Um, again, I've said this before. Rice is very fortunate this did not turn into the Devontae, or no, I'm sorry, not Devontae, Henry Ruggs situation. I'm thinking of a different Raiders receiver. Um, and listen, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, because you just had Isaiah Bugs get in trouble again. If you're Andy Reid and Clark Hunt and Brett Veach, you gotta on day one of training camp when all of the veterans arrive, because the rookies arrive before the veterans, and I'll get the date in a second here. I think you got to look at everybody and say, look, we signed you guys for a reason. We drafted you guys for a reason. We traded to get some of you guys for a reason. We invested a lot to get you. Don't screw up. Because we, unfortunately for the Chiefs, they've had a lot of that in years past. Some of it's not like the biggest deal in the world. Like Frank Clark, he had 2 instances where he had Uzis in the vehicle. Okay, I mean, look, I know there's all this gun talk in this country. Should he have had Uzis in the state of California? No. I mean, listen, rules are rules, whether we agree with them or not. Definitely shouldn't have, but it's not like if he pulled it out and was pointing at people, that would be a whole different story. They were just in his vehicle. For what reason? We don't know. Maybe for protection, maybe something else. I don't know. But he wasn't using it. It was just there in his vehicle. Again, like Wanya Morris and Chuck Godric smoking weed, like who cares? Seriously. Who has ever judged someone for smoking weed? I'm not saying I do it. I don't personally. I stay away from that stuff. But there are people who do. It's not the, and if anyone judges anyone for doing that, you are a massive loser. I'm sorry, you just are. It's like, okay, you don't like smoking weed, fine, nothing wrong with it. Just don't bother anyone else about it. Not the biggest deal in the world. Hopefully the Chiefs can figure that out, because you don't want to have that kind of thing. Because the Chiefs, I mean, they're kind of competing with the Raiders and the Bengals of the 2000s for criminal activity. It's not never a thing you want to lead the league in. All right, so training camp, the rookies will report on the 16th. Veterans get there on the 20th. Now, there are, if you look at the Texans, their veterans and rookies all report on the 17th. So they're going to have a very, I mean, not that much shorter of an offseason compared to other teams. Who's the earliest? I see the Buffalo Bills. Their rookies are coming on the 16th. And then there are some teams coming on the 24th. You have Pittsburgh on the 24th, rookies and vets. Dallas on the 24th, and then Atlanta on the 24th. So you got 3 teams that are starting a week later than everyone else. But yeah, mid to late July, that's kind of when you can expect all the teams to be in training camp to prepare for the 2024 season. Yeah, we got the training camp dates, and that's essentially the first sign that we're getting closer and closer to football season. I don't know why. It just feels like this offseason flew faster than last year and the year before. I don't know. It just feels like it. But I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to this year more than I have before, because I think the defense is going to be merely the same. Tiny step back with the loss of Willie Gay and L'Jarius, but I think it will still be very good. The offense, I'm expecting vast improvement, and I think everyone is. I have not seen anybody give a logical reason why the offense will not improve. Everyone's expecting the offense to step up this year. And if they do that, man, you got a chance to have a top 10, maybe top 5 offense and defense. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl with a struggling offense last year. Imagine what they do this year, trying to three-peat with an improved offense. I'll let you guys think about that as I get out of here. Hey, a lot of you guys joined for this live stream tonight. Thank you guys on Facebook and YouTube. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're following me on Facebook as well. We have the Xavier Worthy jersey giveaway going on right now, so check that out if you haven't done so already. Check the pin post. See what you got to do. It's pretty simple. Not that hard at all, but check all of that out. I am Farzin Vousoughian. Appreciate all of you guys once again. joining me live or for downloading and listening to the podcast version of the show. Actually, I did lie. I just realized we will not be doing a Red Friday live chat this week. So I just realized I had something come up this week. So no Red Friday live chat this week. We're actually going to go ahead and take a break from the Red Friday live chats until training camp starts. So completely forgot about that. For all of you Red Friday live chat enthusiasts, my apologies, but don't worry, they will come back. Enjoy your Friday nights. It's summertime. Got better things to do than listen to me on a Friday night. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already. Share the links with your friends. Let them know about the podcast. I'm out. Enjoy. Take care.